Hey everybody, it's Brian from A Life After Layoff, and today I want to share with you how to introduce yourself in an interview. And as a corporate recruiter, an HR professional, a career coach, and a hiring manager, I do know a thing or two about interviewing and why we ask this question to begin with. So I want to break it down and give you some best practices so that you can hit this one out of the park and set the tone for the rest of your interview. But before we get too far into it, if you're interested in more videos just like this one directly from a corporate recruiter, make sure you hit that subscribe button. You may also want to hit that notification bell so that you don't miss any future posts. And if you want to support the channel, those thumbs up and those comments really are helpful because it does take me a lot of effort to put these videos together. It only takes you a second to hit that like button, and it really does mean a lot and helps me continue to bring you this great content. So let's talk about this common interview question. Introducing yourself, or in other words, tell me about yourself. Now, this interview question tends to give people a lot of anxiety, and rightfully so, because it tends to be pretty ambiguous. When we ask the question, tell me about yourself, or introduce yourself in the interview, you have this massive blank slate or blank canvas to pull from, and it's kind of hard to decide where you want to start painting. And there are some ways that you can approach this question with some strategy so that you're not blindly giving an answer. And in particular, you're not giving an answer that is not hitting the mark, but rather you're giving an answer that is going to give you the best chance of setting the tone early into the interview that you're the best possible fit for the role. And I'll be careful with this one because it's easy to fall into the trap of thinking that this is just an icebreaker. But there's actually a reason why we ask this question. It's an opportunity for you to tell me that you're a good fit for my position. Now, it's important to note that a hiring manager probably doesn't have a very specific agenda on what they're looking for in this question. So this advice is more catered to the person who is astute and wants to come in and really impress the interviewer. So at the highest level, this question is designed to answer two major things. The first one is, does the candidate have the competency to actually perform the job? But more importantly is, if they do have the skills to do the job effectively, are they a good motivational fit for the role? And remember, this is one of the first questions that you're going to get asked in an interview. So it's your chance to shine and set the tone for the rest of the interview process. But I think it's important to discuss what not to say when answering this question. The first thing is that we don't want to rehash our resume. The purpose of this question is not for you to go line by line and tell me exactly what you did at each job. I can read through your resume for that. And rest assured, I'll be asking more questions about your background as it relates to the resume later on in the interview. So save those details for when I ask you about them. I also want to make sure that you don't give a life summary. Stick to the script at hand. We don't want to veer off course. We want to keep it as related to the position that we're interviewing for. So as tempting as it might sound, to give a life's history and how you overcome adversity as a child and your adventures in Europe throughout the summers and all those great hobbies that you have, this is not the time to do that. And while we're at it, it's also important to note that we don't want to ramble when we're giving this question. We want to be concise. Keep it to 3 to 5 minutes. And as we know, long-winded answers are the kiss of death and should be avoided at all costs. It's a quick way to end up in the no pile. So if you feel yourself rambling, it's time to cut to the chase and wrap up that answer. Finally, we don't want to highlight things that are not directly related to the job that we're interviewing for. So you may want to skip over your side hustle as a personal trainer and focus on the task at hand, which is showing why you're a great fit and particularly interested in this position that you're interviewing for. When approaching this question, we want to make sure that we're as prepared as possible in advance. So make sure you pull that job description, read it really carefully, and try to highlight some of the major areas that the company seems to be interested in based on that description. And those are the keys to what you want to focus your answer on. So we want to make sure that we have a very solid understanding of how our strengths tie into the job or to the company that we're interviewing for. While you're at it, you want to make sure that you include why it is that you're even interested in the position to begin with. So think about how this fits into your long-term career growth. And I'm hoping that you're interviewing for a job that's actually going to be part of your long-term career plan and not just taking the first job that comes your way, because that'll open up a whole other can of worms, and show a sincere interest in why you feel this position would be a great challenge for you and the next logical step in your career. All right, so we've got some of the core concepts down. So let's tie this into a real life example. In this case, let's suppose that I'm interviewing for a senior level recruiting position, maybe with a technical startup. And let's suppose that I know that this company is looking for somebody to come in and help establish new processes and put together best practices because it's kind of the Wild West. And let's suppose that that's something that I've done in my past where I've implemented a lot of process improvement and maybe led some major projects inside of talent acquisition. So here's how I would answer the question. I'm an expert level recruiting professional with extensive experience in full lifecycle recruiting for a variety of industries and companies, including FANGs, Fortune 50 firms, and even some privately held companies. And I'm particularly proud of my ability to build strong consultative relationships with my business partners at all levels. And I've worked with everybody from frontline leaders to C-suite. And as an expert sourcer, I've utilized a full arsenal of recruiting tools, including Boolean X-ray search, LinkedIn Recruiter, AI, and some aggregators, and even some good old-fashioned networking to help find the best candidate, and all the while advocating for an exemplary candidate experience. Furthermore, I have led process improvements for major ATS system upgrades, and I've been instrumental in supporting a major hiring initiative, which resulted in hiring of 100 engineers in 9 months, which was actually a full 6 weeks ahead of target. Now, this position is of particular interest of mine because I've been looking to expand my skill set into the startup space, and I've been seeking an opportunity to apply my skills in a new environment. And I'm happy to dive into anything I've mentioned more deeply, so ask away. Now, as you can see in this example, I've made it a point to call out some of the major bullet points that I've read and understand about the job description, and make sure that the hiring manager knows that I have the competency to address a lot of their concerns. I've also shown a breadth of experience and also why I'm excited about the position and how it can help my career as well. So essentially what I've done is I've set the tone for the rest of the interview process, and hopefully that hiring manager will have a favorable impression of me, and I'll have gained a little bit of goodwill along the way. Now, of course, you don't want to be so scripted in this answer that you sound robotic. Speak in your own voice, but you should have a fairly concise way of summarizing your experience, just like I did in this example. And I've tried to keep my example to under 5 minutes, preferably in the 2 to 3 minute mark. So the next time you're in an interview, go ahead and try this out and see if it helps you establish a good cadence for the rest of your interviewing process. But if you're somebody that's struggling in your interviews and you're just not having any luck in your job search, it's actually something that I specialize in. I've got a website called alifeafterlayoff.com, and it's loaded with tips and tricks, all from an insider's perspective. And I share my deepest and most intimate knowledge in the form of some training courses. The first one being Resume Rocketfuel. Resume Rocketfuel is designed to teach you exactly how to write a resume that is going to give you the best chance of standing out and getting noticed by that recruiter for that first round interview. And once you get the first round interview, it's up to you to sell yourself throughout the rest of the interviewing process. I also have some interview training for that as well. You can go and check that out on my website. And if you want to skip the recruiter altogether, I encourage you to check out my Unlocking LinkedIn course, which teaches you how to utilize the LinkedIn tool to skip the recruiter altogether and unlock some of the most powerful opportunities on the hidden job market. So make sure you check that one out as well. And I do offer some private one-on-one coaching sessions as well. You can check my website for details. Hey, happy interviewing. Hopefully this video helped. Make sure you check out my other videos on how to answer common interview questions, and we'll see you on the next one.